saw you just tweeted about De'Aaron. What word did you get about practice?
Yeah, he's at practice. He was practicing, fully participating today. That's a very, very good sign. And it sounds like he's probably a game time decision, but probably more leaning towards playing tomorrow. It really does depend on how his body reacts to a day of practice, a really solid, hard day of practice, and get to see what he looks like tomorrow morning, if there's any swelling or if there's any additional soreness. But yeah, he's on pace to be back, whether it's on Saturday or you got to wait until Monday. I think he's on pace to be back very soon.
This may seem a little strange, but the way, and I don't even mean it as if the Kings are like rushing him back. But say they would have won against Miami. Do you think they would have probably told him like, "Hey, let's just sit out another game until we get back to the West Coast," or the fact that they lost and it's almost to some it's a must win against Orlando. And they're like, all right, if he feels good, we gotta bring him out there. You think
No,
that
this is
at all?
this is a guy that wants to be out there every game. It hasn't always worked out that way, but like this is a guy that does try to get back from injury outside of like maybe one instance. But he's definitely a guy
Damn
that
ankle.
like yeah,
A damn
he wants to play. He wants to play and I don't blame him. Like in the team, like they know what he means to this team. I mean, we saw it, like their pace dropped by a full point, like from 102.5 to 101.5 in one game because he wasn't there. I mean, that's stunning. And that tells you that their pace was like 7 or 8 notches below where its standard is in order to drop it that far, even in a small sample size of a, what is it, 2 and 5 in a 7 game series, 7 game season so far. That's still a substantial drop. So they need him out there to drive this train, and they know that.
Well, James, sorry, James, he's the only aside from Monk, he's the only play. I don't want to say playmaker, but he's the only one that can create their own offense off the bounce, get into the key, and everything else like that. Everybody else has to be set up by the point guard or the offense. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things that I wish they maybe had a little bit more of on this team. Somebody that can create their own shot. They got Fox and Monk, which is cool, but if one of them goes down, like we've seen, now you only got one guy, and everything else is kind of station to station. So those numbers they don't surprise me just because I don't they don't have any other Foxes outside of Monk.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense though that you don't want to have too many of those guys. I think Terrence Davis is another guy that can create his own offense, but he's not a guy that they're asking to do that. So for right now, I think that they're hoping that everyone plays within the flow of the offense, figures out the nuances of the offense, and then what's next, which is, adding more and more pieces to this offense as they go along during the season. Yeah, this thing is a work in progress, and it takes a long time to really figure all of these things out. I think, when we go back and we look at how Rick Adelman was able to turn things around so fast in like during the 98-99 season, where you literally brought all of these pieces in together at one time. You got Peja to come over from Europe. You drafted Jason Williams. You traded for Chris Webber. You brought in Vlade Divac, and I think in addition to that, John Barry, all in one offseason. How did that work out so quickly? And I think part of the reason was that you're basically you're getting 100% buy-in, but also like Jason Williams and his ability to create for others meant so much early on in that process to get everybody going. Fox isn't really that type of player, but you do need these creators. You need these guys that can do stuff here and there to when the ball gets sticky, when the defense tightens up. And it is good to have at least two of them. And, to be honest with you, I'd like to see them play a little bit more together as far as Fox and Monk. Have two guys out there that can do a little bit more. But sometimes you keep adding them, and then all of a sudden you're an ISO team, and nobody wants. That's not what they want here, and nobody. I don't like watching that style of basketball either.
Wish Carmelo Anthony was here.
There it is.
What did you think of Mike Brown's post-game press conference the other night?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like I like that he was willing to stand up and get a fine, because I'm sure he will get a fine. I don't know what it'll be. We haven't seen it yet, which is a good sign for him. But you gotta go out there and stand up for your guys. And I've even, like, realistically, I've called for it in game. Like, I would like to see him stand up for his guys in a game where he gets a technical or he gets two technicals and gets thrown out. Heaven forbid, like, you're coming into Wednesday's game, your center had averaged like 4.7 personal fouls per game, and like per 36, he's at like 5.8. He'd already fouled out of 3 games and out of 6, and fouled out of 3 games total all of last season. So it's not like he's a guy who's habitually in foul trouble. And then on the flip side, your point guard, who's one of the best at finishing it in the paint in the NBA, he can't get a foul call. And he's down like nearly 2.8 free throw attempts per game over his height of 7.2 a couple of years ago. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You need to stand up for your guys, and you need to get these guys, you need to show support and make sure that your players know that you're trying to do your best with the officials as well. And I also, like, the front office, they need to be in constant communication with the league. They need to be sending the league, like, the clear issues that they're seeing on the court that are leading to their guys getting foul trouble or a lack of foul calls, and other teams not having the same issue. That is something that does happen. The front office will put together a video package. They'll send it to the league and say, look, what are we supposed to do here? We're losing by a couple of points here and there, and look at all of these discrepancies that we see. And the league won't really do anything about it, but they may look at the video and say, okay, we can see where your player did X, Y, and Z. And they may even communicate to the officiating crews that are coming up that are going to do Kings games that, like, look, for some reason, like, this player is getting a bunch of foul calls, and this is what we saw in the video. Can you guys, like, maybe watch the video as well and have a little bit more of an understanding of where the team is coming from and where the player is coming from? So that communication's big. But again, I would like to see Mike Brown sort of put his foot down and say, like, enough is enough. Like, calling timeouts is one thing. Reviewing plays in the first quarter, that's another thing. But, like, those things cost him. I would like to see him, like, vocalize his displeasure.
But that's a little tough, because it costs you points, though, or it could cost you points. Like, in an in-game scenario, you just pointed this out, James. All of the games have been close. So if you're giving away a point or potentially 2, that's tough.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about giving away a point in the first quarter, giving away a point in the second quarter. Like, if you can't make that up, and I'll also say this.
Challenging a call in the first quarter, just pick up a technical.
Yeah, no, but I mean, teams, like, historically, like, they usually respond well when your coach goes out and picks up a tech. So they'll take on that point, and it's no guarantee that it's going to go in. I mean, we saw the Kings already miss 2 technical free throws in one game. Yeah, so there's all kinds of potential here, and even that was like, those were crazy technicals for I can't even remember which game that was, but for a team coming out of the huddle too slow at the beginning of quarters. It was like, I'd never seen anything like that. Again, there's these points of emphasis that happen early in the season, and then they die down.
They got Giannis at the free throw line.
For taking too long?
Yeah, they got Giannis at the free throw line.
Yeah, leave my boy Giannis alone.
Yeah, some email must have gone. What was the palming thing for Jordan Poole? Yeah, some email must have gone out, James.
Yeah, I remember Kings fans used to count when Karl Malone was at the line, because Karl Malone, I mean, I think you only have 5 seconds.
10.
And yeah, is it 10?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Karl Malone will go to like 13.
Yeah, they would sit there and count and count and
They were
count.
counting the number of kids he doesn't talk to that he has. 1,
Yeah,
2, 3.
There's a
Or they're counting how. Nah.
Yeah.
much darker story there. Yeah.
Nah. I ain't doing
Yeah.
that.
We probably shouldn't go down that path.
I ain't doing
Do we lose
I
Damien?
ain't doing that.
How are you?
I think that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't have armrests. Sometimes you just fall right out of your chair.
I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that.
Uh,
With the Kings though. I forgot what I was gonna ask. I was about to
well,
add
I think there's a joke there about how high how many seconds it took for him to you know to
Oh no,
take a free throw. Like
that
maybe
is what I was gonna say though. Damien talked about before the Heat game, and it was in correlation to what happened in the Heat Warriors game, where Jordan Poole got called for 3 discontinued dribbles, whatever the case may be. Damien said, and I agree. I thought that was a good look. Maybe Christie or Jay Triano or Lindsey Harding go to the referees before. We're like, look, what's going on with the Sabonis thing? What does he have to do to stay on the floor? And kind of, build that relationship or have that conversation with the referees, and in hopes of him staying on the floor in that Heat game. I don't know if it actually happened, but something happened, something worked, because he didn't get his first foul until in the fourth quarter. Do you think that might have happened on Wednesday before that Heat game? Somebody had a conversation with the refs.
yeah, I think they probably had a conversation with the refs. I think they also had a conversation with Sabonis and said, "Look, man, you need to make adjustments quickly because we can't afford to have you on the bench." And that's a big deal. I mean, you can't have your central offensive and defensive hub sitting on the bench, especially when the guys who are coming in to replace him do not play the same style of basketball he does. And so you're really trying to reinvent the wheel when he goes off the court. And whether it was them saying, having a really good conversation with the officials in pregame, even Domas going in and just saying, "Hey, look, I've been having foul trouble, and can you walk me through some of the issues that I'm having because I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and I need to make sure that I'm not in foul trouble for my teammates." That's a possibility too. So somebody somewhere had some discussions, but I'm going to guess that it was probably 4 or 5 discussions about how they can get him to stop fouling, about how they can have the officials be a little lighter on him, about just, I mean, he's hard to officiate because he's such a physical player, but he can't go into a game against Mason Plumlee and foul out and be in foul trouble the whole game. I mean, get limited completely by Mason Plumlee. I mean, if it's Jokic or it's Embiid, that's one thing, but we're talking about Mason Plumlee. I mean, that to me, that can't have that.
No disrespect. Did you notice anything different from Sabonis? Did you know? I mean, like, could you see like he was doing things differently out there?
I didn't even notice like when I've been watching every single game, like almost all of them seem so ticky tack. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like there's a physicality that's happening on the court, and we talked about it early. Like look at how many physical big men he went up against in the first week of the season. We're talking like Nurkic, why am I drawing a blank? The big kid for the Clippers,
Zubac.
Looney. Then you get to Steven Adams. He's going up against a beast every single night, and so you have to play it like fair though, because like clearly he's getting hit as well. We've seen that. Like I was worried that watching the first like 4 games of the season, there's no way he's going to stay healthy. Like, how do you stay healthy when you're getting hit time and time and time again? And I don't know what the answer is. Like, you've got to sit there and just, pray that you stay healthy and do your weight room work and all that stuff. But he's definitely a physical player, but we've never seen this issue from him really before, where he just can't stay on the floor. So, yeah, adjustments need to be made, but adjustments need to be made from everyone, including himself, including his teammates who are hanging him out to dry and letting guys get to the middle of the key, or asking him to be the help defender that like look, he's not a weak side shot blocker. It just is what it is. He's not a shot blocker. People need to understand that, and that's okay. There are a lot of really good defensive bigs who don't block shots, but if you need him to do that, you're going to get him in foul trouble.
And that was the other thing about the conversation about rim protector next to him and all this other stuff. You mentioned it, Ham. I agree with you 100%. You got to stop letting these guys just go into the paint, and get by you so easily on the perimeter. You can do those type of things if you have a Rudy Gobert back there, and maybe he can clean up a lot of stuff. You don't, and it's not Sabonis's fault or the GM's fault or nothing like that. This is the roster you have. These guys on the perimeter have to do a little bit better job of creating some resistance. That's what I always thought the Kings' problem has been for the last couple of years, is there wasn't enough resistance on the perimeter. We saw De'Aaron Fox in that first game against Miami give resistance to Tyler Hero when he was going and kind of change the whole game in that dynamic. And I just think they need to, that's one way to help Sabonis and help your defense overall, is if they're better on the perimeter.
Yeah, and I'm going to show a comment here from Rory. The Kings should probably find a backup big who can play a similar style to Domas. I totally agree with that sentiment, and I think that is what their plan is with Neemias Queta. Now, whether that works or not, like, we have no idea. We're talking about a young kid who played took up basketball late and played at Utah State. I mean, it's going to take time to develop him. But again, a big man that can get in the pick and roll, that can get into a motion offense, that sets huge picks, that can rebound like crazy, and who block shots. So sort of a version of Sabonis, but with a better shot blocking ability. He's not quite the passer, but you're trying to develop that. And I think that's what this year will be like for him in Stockton, especially with, Alex Len being in the final year of his deal. It's a good idea to have multiple guys like that, but you also can't have everybody be the same type of player. I mean, just go back to Utah last year where Utah had Gobert and then they went out and signed Hassan Whiteside. That doesn't make any sense, because when a team tries to do something different against you and they start to succeed at doing something different, and the only thing you have is to bring out the same exact style of player to try to defend that, you're going to get smoked. And that, like, why I've always said, like, Rashawn Holmes and a player like Gobert would probably be really good together, because he can go out and defend the perimeter when teams start to do things that are not working for you, that are, anyway.
In theory, though, James, isn't that what Rashawn Holmes is to Sabonis?
Maybe a little bit. He is a different style of player. But the way that the Kings are running the offense, I think that would be the sort of the segue to Rashawn Holmes. Like, Rich he has to figure out the offense and defensive schemes quicker. Like, he's got to get out there and really figure out how to play this style of play and how to succeed in this style. Because, I mean, like, I always compare Golden State Warriors because that's where Mike Brown was before. But shouldn't Rashawn Holmes be able to do some of the things that Kevin Looney does? Like, yes, that's the answer. Yes. Like, so you don't have to be a 3-point shooter to play next to him. You don't have to be a great passer, because Looney's not. But what you do have to do is play within the style of the offense and play within the style of the defense. Like, when you're supposed to show and push a guard out to the sideline, you got to be there. Like, there is no time to wait. You need to be there when you're supposed to go set a screen for an offensive player, for a guard at the top of the key. Like, it's just too slow. And the guards are getting they're getting Rich in foul trouble because they're taking off too early and he's not set a screen yet. Well, that's not the guard's fault most of the time. It's that he's not getting to his spot quick enough in order to set that screen to have them go. So there's a lot of, like, continuity issues that we're seeing with this team right now, just chemistry issues. A lot of these things will actually work out if you give them enough time, but it's really hard when you're in an 82 game season and you fall to 0-4, and all of a sudden you start looking at the record and saying, where am I going to get my wins? And you're going to focus on the guys that are doing what they need to do correctly in order for your offense and your defensive schemes to work. And you're going to play the other guys less and less minutes because they're not, like, figuring it out quick enough. And you're going to try other things. I mean, how many times have we already seen Mike Brown go to Alex Len off the bench as a third center in the first half. It's like 2 or 3 times already. That should not be the case unless everyone's in foul trouble and you got to make a move because of foul trouble.
It felt like Dwayne Dedman took that game on a couple of nights ago really personally. I'm not trying to be like, he went at Rashawn when they were on the floor together and won like every time. Rashawn had a tough night against Miami.
Yeah, like the Dedman thing. If Dedman would have just played that way, he would have been in Sacramento for all 3 years. Like Dedman, in theory, was a perfect player for what they were trying to do at that time. Now they tried to have him do other things like pass the ball, and that was a disaster. I think his second game that he was with the Kings, he turned the ball over like 8 times.
I remember
Like
that.
he got flat out beat out by Rashawn Holmes for that job.
I honestly
And-
think it's the hair. I think he's better since he shaved his head. He's
He
far
did-
more
he did have a
menacing.
little Caesar when he was here.
He's
Yeah.
far more menacing with a bald head.
And I think the beard is a little thicker.
I think the
too.
beard's thicker. He looks more like a like it works. I
You want
think
to trade for him?
no.
okay.
I'm okay. But like I think that's why it's working so much. I think it's because he shaved his head.
I also think that players who have never made money and then all of a sudden sign a 3-year, $40 million contract, the expectations change very quickly and they feel those expectations. And I didn't think Dedman was a bad dude. I just think that he got overwhelmed by the expectations. I know when he was in Sacramento, like right in the beginning of the season, they had a new baby or during the offseason coming in. Like he had a lot of life-changing things happening at the same time, including going from a guy who'd never made any money at all to a guy who like basically made I think twice as much in his first season in Sacramento that he had in his entire career combined. And sometimes guys just don't adjust well to that. It gets in their head, and I think with Sacramento it got in his head. He couldn't even shoot the 3 ball when he came in as like a 37.5% 3-point shooter the year before. And that's what they needed. They needed the floor spacer, and he just wasn't able to do it.
To be fair, I don't know how I'd act either. If I all of a sudden got a big influx of money, I don't know. Probably unbearable. That would just be my guess.
What do I need to work hard for? I'm paid.
That's right.
You got the I don't have to work hard because I got paid guys. You got the nervous Nellies, the guys who make so much money and then they're looking around like everyone is looking at me like I'm rich and I'm struggling.
That's
And
Kenny's life. That's how everyone looks at Kenny.
Hey James, I don't mean to steal too much content from the King's Beat. You guys want to hear everything? You need to go check out the King's Beat. But I was listening last night, and I thought the conversation that you had about the second unit and how some of their struggles collectively, not just Davion or Rashawn or whatever, but just collectively as a group, was pretty interesting. Like, you mind kind of going over that a little bit, because I thought that was a good point by you.
Yeah, I mean, like we had some pretty heated debates in the last podcast.
I know.
Like Sean was being a bit of a contrarian, but that's okay. Like
No.
it's good discussion, and like look, I don't think that a lot of the guys on the bench are playing that well, but I also have to look at the way that this team is built, and it's a big deal that you have a 2-time All-Star who, like, not only is he a great passer, but his dad was a great passer. He's come from, like, that's who he is in Sabonis in your starting unit. And then you're expecting these other guys to go into the second unit and play with guys that don't play that same style and that don't have the same pedigree, the same, you can even say it like talent level, like success level. And that's not a knock. I mean, like there's players in the league that do very specific things. And like Sabonis just happens to be really, really good at rebounding, really, really good at position defense and like sort of anchoring the middle of a court. He's really good at passing and seeing the floor and making his teammates better. And you can't expect a guy like Rashawn Holmes to just step on the floor and be that same guy. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're like, when I'm watching this team play, they are really working hard to get this type of offense ingrained in these players. And they're not going to things that might work, like the easy fixes. The easy fix for this team is to run, pick and rolls half of the game. Like half of the game. If you ran pick and rolls half of the game, this team would be like devastating offensively. They're really, really good offensively right now, and they're only going to get better in the system that they're doing. But it almost feels like Mike Brown is saying, I'm not going to allow you guys to break from learning this. You need to learn how to play within the confines of this offense and get better and build on something here so we can start adding all these other wrinkles. Then there will come a point this season where we're going to have this offense rolling, and then we'll start peppering in those pick and roll opportunities for guys and sort of the extra things that kind of feel like are lacking right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think the second unit, it's really hard to like put a lot of blame on these guys. They're not playing that well. As soon as the starters come off the court, this thing goes, south really quickly. But they don't have like a center of the universe player like Sabonis to work around. And it makes things very difficult. And again, like if you're not running pick and rolls for Rashawn Holmes, it's very difficult for him to get a shot up. He is not a back to the basket big. He is not a jump shooting big. He is a pick and roll guy, and a guy that even if you allowed him to play with De'Aaron Fox a bunch, De'Aaron Fox knew how to get downhill, draw everyone to the rim, and drop it back to Rashawn Holmes for that little flip, the little push shot at the free throw line or a step in from the free throw line. Well, he's just not getting any of those opportunities because that's not the style of play that they're doing right now.
Could the second unit run through, like if Keegan stayed out with them, like could it run through him the way it runs through Sabonis? And would that even help, or is that not enough?
No, I think a year from now, yeah. But today,
Yeah.
like today, no. Like, I mean, you're already asking a lot from Keegan Murray. You're asking him to understand like basically four positions on both ends of the court. You're asking him to adjust to the physicality of the NBA level, to the talent level of the NBA level. Like all of the things that are going through his head on a daily basis are just swimming. He will be a really good passer. You can see it. He's got great court vision. We've seen him go over the top to Sabonis a couple of times on some really, really pretty like pin down moves by Sabonis. And he's a good passer. He's got all of the skills, but you got to give him more time to figure out the game. And I think for right now, allowing guys like Monk and guys like Kevin Herter to be those secondary and third playmakers as opposed to Keegan, or even Harrison Barnes. Like Harrison has never really been that guy either, and it takes a long time. Like I think it was 2 seasons ago, he was a really good passer, but it was by necessity. Him and Buddy Hield both had a bunch of assists. They both had career highs in assists for the season, and that was out of necessity because you didn't have that second and third playmaker. I think at this point, the Kings do have a lot of playmakers. Do they have a bunch of guys that can create their own shots? No, but they have a bunch of guys that can create shots for other guys. And that's as valuable too when you're doing this style of offense.
Yeah.
Okay. You brought up something about Harrison Barnes, or you mentioned Harrison Barnes' name. I want to ask you about the fourth quarter of Miami's game, and then we'll prepare for Orlando. James, I think this is going to be a tough matchup ahead for the Sacramento Kings for a variety of different reasons, but we'll talk about that with the creator of the Kings Beat and our 1320 Kings insider, James Ham, here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320.
For sure.
Where my pen go? Where the hell did that pen go? Oh,
James, is it cold up there?
Right now, it is 58 degrees. It was I think it was in the 30s last night.
It had to be. It was in the 30s out here. Like
Yeah,
high 30s.
it was definitely cold, and it was so cold that our van wouldn't start this morning. Like it hit the battery pretty good. So I don't know if that's my battery is dying and I'm gonna have to swap it out pretty quick, or if it's just a one-time thing. I put a trickle charger on it, and it came back to life pretty quickly, and then I let it run for a while.
Cold. It's supposed to be a little mini storm starting on Sunday. Getting weather. We're getting elements.
Yeah, it's good that we're seeing snow already pop up.
Yeah.
I have not, Aldrin J, I have not checked out the new Drake and 21 Savage album.
21.
Let's see. I don't know what Plant versus Benavidez is.
It's a boxing match.
Oh,
It's a good one.
no.
Just pick
Yeah.
one. Plant or Benavidez. Just go ahead, pick one.
Just,
So-
it's
so
a
I-
toss up.
So I can hold you to it.
Choose my side. Choose my side now. Is it this weekend?
No, it's not even officially signed yet.
Oh, okay.
But
Maybe I'll look him up. Like I like boxing.
That's cheating. Pick
I
one.
don't. No, like I would look him up and like look at the players, not look up the who's favored.
I'm giving you a hard time. I was about to say something to you though. Man, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I think we might have talked about this before. Do you like college basketball?
Do I like college basketball?
Yeah. Like, do you watch it throughout the year?
I do. I get heavier into it later in the year, and then I go back and watch a lot of like footage and film study when I'm doing mock drafts. So yeah, like I do watch, like conference tournaments, the tournament, but then I go back and I watch a lot of specific, play types. It's tough because it's right in the middle of the NBA season, and like I have to dedicate so much time and energy to the NBA season that it takes me away from a lot of stuff. And the one thing I won't let it take away from is the NFL. So I love to watch football, and so I can't ask the wife to like basically give up everything because James has to watch more sports.
No, that's why you just got to watch it at about 2 a.m. like I do.
Chris Juvenile, is Brendan's car totaled? I'm gonna guess that Brendan's car is totaled because his passenger side airbags went off, and that's usually just that alone is so expensive. But yeah,
Damn, I'm one episode behind, and Brendan's car is totaled.
Yeah.
he got in a car crash right before the podcast.
No wonder he couldn't come on today's show. Jesus.
Yeah, so Brendan was doing a Taco Bell run and coming back for the podcast with one of his friends in the car. And Brendan is in between apartments. He moved out of one and he's waiting for another one. So he's got this little buffer. So he's driving to one of his friends. A car pulled over to the side. He thought they were parking. And then a young girl just decided to hang a U-turn right into Brendan and crushed him right in the passenger side. And the airbag went off. And Brendan was okay. Everyone was okay. But Brendan's his buddy took a brunt of the abuse, like the side airbag. He put his arm up, and it got him pretty good. Like he's got some some airbag damage. Yeah,
That sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. Tell him I'm sorry I invited him on the show, not knowing he had been on.
I think he's okay. I mean, like he survived the whole podcast, but he's a young guy who hasn't been through that before. The whole uninsured motorist thing, the calling the police,
man,
all that stuff. Yeah. So, luckily he's insured. And
Aldrin J, that's how hungry I am, bro. I'm so freaking hungry. I'm drinking a soda.
that I like that your little soda machine, your vending machine.
It's a good soda machine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got some good stuff. It's got the Orange Crush in a can.
Oh yeah, it's a good look.
You guys are children.
It's a good look.
You need to drink Coke Zero like an adult.
Coke Zero.
I can't do any diet stuff. I can't handle it.
It's not diet, it's zero. It's not the same.
Bob Hatchie, how old is Brendan? You can ask Brendan that when we do a live show. I'll let Brendan decide if he wants to tell you how old he is. He's not a baby.
Y'all need to stop pointing out me drinking a Coke Zero. Look, this is supposed to be a safe space. Y'all leave me alone. I'm freaking hungry. I didn't. Y'all laughed at me because my almonds crunched too loud. I forgot my bag. All I had was that goddamn green juice.
Yeah. I'm not drinking hot tea today. That's been my typical thing.
What I would really like is some coffee. But that coffee machine out there is really intimidating.
How so?
That coffee machine out there is crazy. It's got like 49 different. Oh, press this button. Press this button. I ain't even got a cup here.
Well, you
That's
got
funny.
options.
I guess.
Options are good. I like options with my food, drinks.
Bro,
things
you're
like that.
drinking. This man, this grown up, this 39-year-old human being is eating a bag of M&Ms and drinking like, is that orange juice?
Yeah, I had some orange juice. Didn't want any soda.
Peanut M&Ms or regular M&Ms?
Doesn't even
Peanut
sound
M&Ms
good.
all
That
the
sounds
time.
awful.
Peanut M&M.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
real
can.
M&Ms are not.
Yeah, no,
That ain't-
plain
No.
M&Ms, that's not it.
that ain't-
Hey, man, skin's good. I'm healthy. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Well, you're probably less hungry than I am with those M&Ms, so I applaud you for that. I wanted to ask you, Hammer, about the final quarter the other night. And it was the first time we saw, Keegan kind of not get that late game run. And I just, without my commentary, I'm curious, what were your thoughts when you realized, or even if it was post game, that Keegan went like 9 straight minutes without seeing the floor in the fourth?
Yeah, I was watching it play out in real time. Look, that was a back and forth battle. And Mike Brown felt comfortable with the lineup on the court. And I'm not going to freak out on Mike Brown because he didn't put a rookie back in the game in the final 9 minutes. I definitely thought that he was having some struggles, both on the offensive end and the defensive end. I think, what was he, 3 of 7 from the field in that game? But he wasn't shooting enough. He was like, on occasion, Keegan Murray is going to look normal. He's going to not look like a superstar rookie. He's going to have moments where, whether it's the matchup, whether it's the location, whatever it is, where he's going to look a little out of sorts. That's just the way it is when you're a rookie. And I thought that was the first time we really had seen him look totally out of sorts. And even the game before that, he struggled. He hit a late 3 to get to 12 points. And I thought, again, he just wasn't quite in the flow. I think he was 5 of 15. And I thought it was really interesting that, his dad, went out on Twitter and said something about it. So, because I think it was Cameron Salerno who put it out there. Well, he hasn't checked in. He didn't check in the final, 9:36. And his dad came out and said, look, he didn't deserve to be in there. He wasn't playing. He was struggling a little bit on the offensive end, but defensively he was struggling too, and all that stuff. And it was good to see. It was good to see a dad who takes accountability for and who's honest with people and isn't making stuff up. I thought that was really good, but I also think it's good that that Keegan Murray has that type of backing. If you surround yourself with yes men, you're doing yourself a huge disservice at the NBA level. And we see so many players do it. And that showed me right there, look, this is an honest to goodness dad who understands the game and who also understands that his kid isn't perfect. He's not going to be perfect every game. No one should expect that, including his dad. And it's okay. It's okay for him to have a game where he's not perfect because he's surrounded by professional athletes that can step in and pick him up when he needs that. And again, the Kings lose that game on a bad buzzer beater. Well, not a buzzer beater, but close to it. But on a bad final play by the officials. And we wouldn't even be wondering about the Keegan Murray situation. And it's also it's good because Slater was out there and was able to ask a couple of questions. We're going to run into this a lot this season, where Not a lot of guys are traveling. Not a lot of media companies are traveling. And you're not going to have a lot of questions for Mike Brown or the team when they're on the road. So at least we did have a little bit there. But clearly,
I
Mike
commend
Brown was.
Anthony Slater, though. He planned this trip flawlessly. He did. Yeah, hey, guys, I can cover the Warriors and the Kings. One fell swoop to Miami. Like, come on,
Yeah.
guys, I got this. That
He
was great.
pitched that pretty. He pitched
Oh,
that strong.
he
Yeah,
nailed
yeah.
it. That was great
I
work.
wonder if he's staying in Orlando.
I don't know.
He might
I
as
haven't
well.
checked in with him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
would stay for a day or two.
yeah, and I'm going to point out, like Rory says again. Rory, I just keep singling you out today in a good way. Not usually in a good way, but today in a good way.
Wrong. This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Yeah, but Aaron Fox and Kenyon Murray would probably get along really well. They're both straight shooters. They're also like there comes a point, like again, I coach my son forever. Um, there comes a point where your child has to make their own way. You can't continue to like go to coaches and there's so many people that want to do that. They want to have their kids back. They want to go to the coach and say, "Hey, is there any way you could play my son a little bit here or put him in a different position or you could use more minutes?" There comes a point with your kids where you got to let them like earn whatever they're going to get out there and do. They have to earn themselves. And I think that that's great that Keegan Murray, number one, had to earn a starting job. But also, like, if you're not playing well, you got to earn your fourth quarter minutes. And, like, look, I don't think he's hitting a rookie wall 7 games into a season, but I certainly think he's exhausted. I think everybody is. You're learning something new. He's never been on a 4-game road trip before like this, where you're gone for 10 or 12 days. Like, there's all kinds of adjustments. Like you got to worry about significant others and who's taking care of it if you have a dog or not. Like he's learning on the fly here what it's like to be an NBA player, and it's really good to have strong sounding boards who are responsible, respectful of the franchise, and are willing to say stuff even if it's on social media. Like, hey, let's. He's gonna struggle here and there.
I remember one game I went to. It's probably 2019 because people were in the stands. I was there. So Aaron Fox was backstage in the tunnel. Where all the like family and friends meet up afterwards or whatever. And the Kings had lost to the Clippers, I think it was. De'Aaron didn't have a good game. And I remember Aaron Fox, he wasn't going on a rant, so to speak, but I guess I was close enough to hear it, and it was loud enough for if you're close enough to hear him, to hear what he was saying. And somebody had said something, and he's like, man, this ain't on Vlade. I don't want to hear this. It's on the damn point guard. It's on the point guard. We ain't got no leadership out here. He said the man shot 11 times. I could have stayed home if he was going to shoot 11 times. Like the point guard got to be better. It's as simple as that. And I was like, I dig that. I dig that. I like
that. Would be you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would absolutely be you.
Yes, 100%. But yeah, that's how he gets down, man, and I dig that.
I think it should be pointed out too. Like, this is such a labor of love for an entire family. Like, when you play as many games as these guys do coming up, the AAU circuit, the whatever it is, like traveling all over the place. Like the Kings had, what was it, Corey Joseph and Tristan Thompson, that their families allowed them to leave and move to Las Vegas in high school to go play so they could get more exposure and get a better opportunity to go to Texas and all that stuff. It's such a huge, tremendous thing. And like, so I never really want to like attack a parent because like it's such a success story for everyone. It's not just the player. The player put in a lot of work, but how many times did that family miss events, miss things because they were waiting to pick up their kid at basketball practice or whatever practice. So again, I love when we actually get some of these parents that like are around and like the exuberance of Rashawn Holmes' family, his mom and his dad singing "We Win" after games and stuff. To me, that's the cool part about this is that you're getting to see people who, like again, like I coach my son in soccer. I would have loved if he could have become a professional soccer player. That wasn't going to happen. But like to see these other families that get to take it to the next level and get to keep going, or like the herders who have like what, one kid in the NBA and three other kids in Division 1 programs getting like free rides. Like they really
Want all
like,
three of them.
yeah.
Get all three of them here.
Team herder.
Team herder.
Yeah, team herder. But it's really cool because it's such a dedication, and I know, Kenny, like how much you put into it. But all of these guys, they did the same thing. They were, taking their kids, even like Harrison Barnes' mom, single mom, struggling and like making it happen for her son. A kid from Iowa, from nowhere, Iowa, makes it to North Carolina, makes it to the NBA. Like it's really cool to hear these stories.
Well, we got a story to be told tomorrow. It'll be the Kings and the Magic. Are you at all concerned, as I am, by the fact Orlando is starting 5 guys who are about 8 feet tall?
Yeah, I mean, my concern is that their starting lineup can basically like put their wingspans out and like reach across America. Like if you string them along side by side, it's crazy. That team is so incredibly long and athletic, and Orlando probably has 4 guys that the Kings need to trade for. Like not all 4 of them, but 4 guys that would work perfectly with what the Kings' biggest need is that shot blocking forward that can, play multiple positions, but they can do the weak side help. They've got Wendell Carter, they've got Jonathan Isaac, who's always hurt, but we're seeing Bull like succeed, averaging 2 blocks a game. You got Mo Bamba there. Even Wagner can block shots. Like you really have a lot of players that would make sense for the Kings' current roster. If there was one team I would circle that the Kings should look to trade with, it would be that team. I just don't know that they have anything that would make sense to go out and get any of those guys. But yeah, that is a long, athletic, young, fun, team to watch, and I think it should be a pretty good battle. I think again, Keegan Murray versus Paolo Banchero should be really, really fun to watch.
He may not be able to play, but I'd take a flyer on Mo Bamba. See what he has to his game here in Sacramento.
Yeah, I would take a flyer on Bamba, especially he's been able to stretch the floor and become a 3-point shooter.
Mhm.
That's really kind of one of those things that the Kings are missing. They cannot put, they can try it, but I don't think it would work to put Rashawn Holmes and Domantas Sabonis on the court together. And certainly, I'm not. You couldn't do that with Len and Sabonis, or even Keita and Sabonis. I'm not just putting it all on the fact that Rashawn Holmes can't really play alongside him. But if you had one of those guys that could shoot from the perimeter and give you something as a shot blocker, I think it would. It's the one ingredient that is truly missing from this team. Even like a guy like Jeremy Grant would have made sense for this team the way it's constructed right now. It's just like, what would you've had to give up and all that stuff. So yeah, I think this team, you can see it right now. They're one piece away for sure from being like who you really want them to be, and you kind of know exactly what that piece is. So at least you have that. At least you can circle the 12 guys in the league that would make sense for you, and then try to go, rip one of those guys away.
You'd rather try Bamba than Keita?
Mm,
Yeah, because
yeah, I was gonna say Kate is free essentially, so maybe you try him, but I don't know if he can shoot the way Bamba can.
no,
Potentially.
I mean Bamba can play the 4 and the 5. Keita to me can only play the 4. I mean, can only play the 5, and that's okay. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Mhm.
But I think you need someone that can really, like, even if you're going to push, Sabonis to the 4 and put a long, lanky shot blocker next to him, it's got to be someone that can get out and defend the perimeter. And I don't think Keita can do that. That's my concern. And Alex Lynn can't do that. And Rashawn Holmes has shown that in the past. But the fact that neither one of them can shoot the three with any efficiency, that's an issue. I mean, Sabonis did hit his first three the other night. And I think he's 1 for 8 on the season after that.
Shout out to Lethal Shooter.
Lethal shooter.
Lethal Shooter did help him on his free throws, I think, though.
Okay, he got didn't lethal shooter, isn't he also responsible for Sabonis being 1 of 8?
No, he's not.
No,
that
wasn't lethal shooter.
No,
oh,
that's Sabonis.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about.
That's Sabonis, 1 of 8, or 0 for 7. The 1 is for Lethal Shooter.
Oh, okay.
And then the free throws are Lethal Shooter.
I gotcha. Okay. Okay. Got it.
I saw a thread about that, though, about Lethal Shooter. Like, people were talking about, they'd be like, have a picture with Lethal Shooter with Grayson Allen. And, you know,
are you breaking news, James?
No, Greg Popovich did just release a statement on the Josh Primo situation. So,
oh Lord,
I looked down. Yeah,
that was crazy. But yeah, no, Sabonis. In all seriousness,
so Lethal Shooter's 1 of 1 on the season.
In all seriousness, though, I did love him hitting his free throws at the end of the game.
Man,
I mean, and that was a situation where I wasn't sure how that was going to go. But 4 clutch free throws from Sabonis.
That was huge.
And obviously, if he could hit the 3, that'd be great. But I think if he could just become a super consistent free throw shooter alone, I think that's going to help his game so much more as well. Because what was he last year, James? I don't have it in front of me, but did he struggle a little bit from the line? I feel like he did off the top of my head.
Yeah, he's not a great career 3-point shooter. I mean free throw shooter. Let me see. I've got it right here. For his career, he's 72.7.
It's not that
he shot 74.3 last season in Sacramento and 74%. So yeah, he's right around that 73, 74. He's shooting 68.4% right now with Sac. His numbers are slowly coming up. And I think we'll see, him be right around where he normally is. Just like I think Fox, it would be nice if he averaged 84% from the line, but I don't know if that will stick. Guys usually settle into who they are.
But that can stick. Like that can to me. Like maybe Kevin Huerter shooting 50% from 3 and taking 10 per game. Maybe that can't stick. But there's no reason De'Aaron Fox 84% from the line can't be a season-long thing.
No, I agree with you, but I'd also say like when it comes to like Sabonis shooting the 3 ball, the Kings haven't shown the need for Sabonis to hit the 3 ball. Like the spacing has been there for them not to have that be an issue for them. It just limits the ability for him to play with a guy like Rashawn Holmes. That's the biggest thing that it does. It stops you from having him with non-shooters. But when it comes to Fox and free throws or even Harrison Barnes, they both have recovered completely from their bad start at the line. Yeah. And it's, you kind of expected that, but it should be pointed out if we're going to lambaste the guys when they're shooting, horrible. Harrison Barnes is up to 80% from the line. And again, I think the one who has some explaining to do is Kevin Huerter, who's at 78.9. He's behind 3 other guys in the starting lineup. And to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Even like Malik Monk shooting 83% from the line. That's good stuff. Yeah. This team is stepped it up. They're not nearly as bad from the line as they were in the first, couple of games of the season. They're currently like 21st in the league in free throw percentage.
So tomorrow versus the Magic. Serious question. Must win for the Kings?
Must win, and it's November 4th. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a panic moment if you don't, because you can kind of look at Monday's game and start to wonder whether or not they're going to be able to beat the Golden State Warriors on Monday. That should be a concern, and you don't want to go 1-4, 1-3 on the road trip. But more importantly, you don't want to drop to 2-7 on the season. So yeah, I mean it's a big game, especially with Wednesday. You got the Cavs rolling in, and the Cavs are super long and athletic and crazy, just like Orlando. So yeah, it's a big win. It would be a big win. Need to Show that you can get some against these teams that are around you in the standings, and you can't just stack losses.
I'm anxious to
Don't
see.
stack losses.
At this point, Sacramento, don't stack anything. Losses, days, just stop stacking. Higher movers, stop stacking. I'm curious to rebound after a tough loss the other night. Especially one where the next day the NBA goes, sorry guys,
Our bad.
Yeah, that's I'm anxious to see how they respond to that. They've played well in my mind. They've played well in all 7 games. I don't expect that to change tomorrow. And James, what I said to KC earlier, what we were talking about earlier, if the Kings play the way that they have through these first 7 games, they beat Orlando. It's as simple as that to me. If they play just the way that they have through these first 7 games, they've beaten Orlando.
Yeah, and we're always going to talk about the same thing. It's that you have to learn how to compete. I think the Kings are competing.
Yeah.
Then you have to learn how to win. And then once you learn how to win, you have to learn how to consistently win and avoid long losing streaks. And like this team is in the middle of that second phase where they're learning how to win. We're seeing tight games. It's kind of a coin flip coming down the stretch. I mean, they very well could be on a 3-game winning streak. But you're also going to face a team that's going through the same phase and who's way younger than you. So there are opportunities there against a young team to get out on top of them early, to not allow them to come back in a game like what they did against Golden State last night, where, they were down 16 or something and then lost to they beat the Warriors. So this team is learning how to win, and you don't want to be a team that that's behind the curve when it comes to battling against a team in the same sort of lot in life that you are, a young team that's trying to develop and get better.
Let's get this win, man.
I think our show's over. Jesse, can you confirm our show's over?
We didn't even talk Kyrie or craziness or anything else. Wow.
Well, there was, yeah.
You guys covered that?
Yeah, I don't think we have a long enough show to cover all of we really have barely talked about the Primo thing. It's like one NBA crisis at a time.
The Primo thing. Crazy.
There's so many crises.
So many crises. Be up to date on all of the crises by following James Ham on social media. And of course, check out the Kings Beat. Subscribe to the Kings Beat newsletter, the YouTube channel. Do the same thing here. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button before you go. We appreciate you so much for being with us. Have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend.